All right, next up, we're going to be reacting to something different. So, we have a video detailing the disaster facing Mr. Beast right now during this whole situation with after the Ava Tyson and then I think that's her name, and then the stuff with the team and then the rigged
About a
channel
situation that is
challenges
currently
and stuff like
blowing
that.
up and will probably get a lot more traction soon, if I had to guess. But either way, I want to throw my hat in the ring and discuss it, regardless of whether or not it ends up going anywhere. Right off the bat, this video is not about Ava Chris Tyson. A lot of
Yeah,
people are
this is
discussing
about
that right
something
now with
else, which
very
is
good
his
reason, by the way. One of Mr. Beast's former
rigged
team
game
members was
shows and stuff
making
like that.
inappropriate jokes with a minor, and it's a whole big thing, but that's not what I'm talking about for today. I don't know enough about it to weigh in right now, and I'll probably get to it sooner or later, but it's not a video that pertains to that particular subject, at least not right now. Instead, this is a video about how a very large amount of what Mr. Beast does for his primary content is quite possibly just flat out illegal, after a former employee raised a video describing his experience, which
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to react to this one soon. The I worked for Mr. Beast, he's a fraud one, because it does highlight a lot of really crazy information when you watch it in terms of the legality of what he's doing in terms of sweepstakes and giveaways and stuff. Because sometimes he doesn't actually do the giveaways, and then also there's also a rule, I believe, where you're not supposed to disclose that it's a giveaway. I don't remember what the
appears
rule
in
is,
my
but
estimation at
there's a
least,
lot of
he's
legality that
shadow
it
banned
brings
on
up,
YouTube
which
now.
would be really
I'm
good
going
to
to link
watch.
directly to that original video down below and summarize a few of the things he talked about, but I also want to focus more on a few separate individual definitions and talk about the broader picture here, where a
Hmm.
world famous creator with hundreds of millions of followers is, yeah, I guess I'm just going to show things and read quotes.
I
I've been
bet.
told pretty harshly before by people that I do trust a great deal that his team is extremely heavy handed with how they handle any sort of criticism. In
Yeah, and doing stuff like that, like forging a signature in terms of a piece of merchandise that you're gonna give away or even, sell to your fans, faking a signature of a celebrity of that status is like, because Mr. Beast, he's one of the bigger content creators to the point where he's not really a content creator anymore. He's kind of reached the celebrity status. He hangs out with celebrities, and he has that kind of pull because of the way his channel works. He reaches a massive audience. So with a creator like that, it's like you can't be faking your signature because that's basically a collector's item and people are willing to spend a lot of money to get that signature. So it's like faking that signature is it puts a lot of hurt on the actual value of said signature. So now in the future people are going to be like, "Oh, well, now this specific signature we know it's faked. It's anything with this signature isn't worth anything," which of course it's not really a bad thing because people shouldn't be reselling it anyways. But at the same time, it still sucks for the people who get a signature thinking it's from Mr. Beast. In reality, it's from one of his employees.
in a legal way, is what I'm saying. Everybody knows who Mr. Beast is. If you don't, that's honestly quite surprising. But the quick version is that he's
Yeah,
very rich, very powerful, and has hundreds of millions of online fans and followers. He makes his money by posting videos, selling products, doing brand deals, and
massive.
hosting giveaways. That behavior, namely the giveaways portion, has earned him a tremendous amount of online support and goodwill, as well as fame, because he's routinely pulling out wads of cash, even just on the street, and handing it over to random people. Well, not so
Yeah, and people like the idea that, oh, if he's doing this, I could be the next person who gets that money. So people subscribe. It's a really good mentality
random if you listen to some people. But anyway, $10,000 to you
that he's
because you're
like
subscribed to me. A
he knows
thousand
how it
here, a
works.
100,000 there. Even big competitions and game show style videos with $1 million prizes. The atmosphere is that Mr. Beast might make you rich as
Yeah,
long as you support him and are a fan of his. But that's a pretty lofty dream, and while he certainly has a massive legal team behind him, I have no doubt there, some of the things I see, some of the things this former employee talked about, and some of the industry standard regulations that quite possibly apply to him, or at the very least, in my opinion, should apply to him, make me think that there's a much bigger scandal coming down the pike, well and truly beyond the scope of whatever he's facing right now because of Ava Chris
which
Tyson.
could be the
I'll
case
start with
because
a
there's a lot
summary
going
of
on right
this,
now.
I believe to be shadow banned video by a former employee of his titled, "I worked for Mr. Beast, he's a fraud." And it effectively talks about three major points. One, the game show videos and other competition type content that he posts online with prizes attached to it is manipulated. CGI,
Mm-hmm.
special effects, timing, etc., in order to make it
Things
more
added in
interesting for the
post.
viewers, even so far as to directly influence the integrity of the competition.
Yeah,
Two,
which this has been something that's been known for a while because in one of his last creator game shows, I believe. The one, it was a sports, the hiding in a football stadium, last one to get found wins whatever amount of money. Um, Rosanna Pansino had come out and said that her ranking was actually a lot higher, but she got eliminated in the video earlier because some other people didn't actually get disqualified. They got allowed to stay or something, and it was something like that. But we knew about that since back then, that there was a possibility he was rigging or manipulating the results or the orders of the winners to favor him,
True. The
basically,
products that he sells,
or
namely
specific
Feastables
people.
and chocolate bars, really, are closer to lottery tickets than actual candy bars, with really strange marketing mechanics and advertising choices attached to them, which seem very predatory towards a younger audience. And
Yeah,
three, he is routinely hosting illegal lotteries in his live streams as a promotional tactic for selling merchandise,
which this is like the stuff that's like
with
yikes.
additional problems like falsifying signatures, failure to disperse prizes, and
Yeah,
more. That's the content of the long form video, again, linked down below in the description. But for me, claim 1 and claim 3, or pieces of them rather, are what I want to focus on because
mm-hmm.
there's actually a very specific legal case that came to mind while watching that
Girls
video
wearing
that
diamond
made me
armor
really
from
start questioning
Minecraft.
how long Mr. Beast can keep doing this before it all comes crashing down on his head. First, we need context. Mr. Beast very often runs game shows on his channel for hundreds of thousands of dollars. As showcased by this alleged former employee in two different examples, he also heavily influences the outcomes of these competitions by doing everything from paying certain people to leave the competition all the way to giving special equipment to a particular team. The first example given was a girls versus boys challenge where they had to solve a Rubik's Cube, or a bunch of Rubik's Cubes rather, and he deliberately paid one contestant on the boys' team $10,000 to leave, which was double the prize pool if he
Well,
had
that's
stayed in the
crazy.
competition, making an obvious guarantee that he would take the money and go. And he did this because that's the contestant that knew how to solve the cubes. In case it's not clear enough, he straight up rigged the competition in favor of the girls' team in more ways than one. He also gave them a drone to try and spy on the boys' team,
Oh,
but all of
no
that
way.
happened directly on camera, which makes it a little bit less impactful, I think. The second example given is far more interesting because it pertains to a competition with a prize of $1 million, the same prize pool in
I think
size
this
as a
is the one
network
with
broadcast
Rosanna.
program called Survivor on CBS, which I'll be referencing here in a minute, and focused on a woman named Rosanna
Yeah,
Pansino. See, Rosanna
here we go.
Pansino had competed in a $1 million hide and seek challenge in which Mr. Beast, or his editing,
He'll probably explain it better than my like small small memory can remember because oh my god, I have horrible memory and I'm really bad at recalling things. So I'm
team, I
glad he
suppose,
mentioned it.
deliberately modified the footage, making it appear that she had performed worse than she actually did, and skewing the results, the placements, from the audience's perspective at least, in
We
such a way
put the
that the
volume
top
attacked
three
it.
appear to be a trio of very large YouTubers, rather than
There we go.
including her. Simple rundown here. She was hiding. They all had earpieces to know when someone got found. It was announced to them. Logan Paul, another massive YouTuber and controversial at that, got found while she was hiding,
Mm-hmm.
after which they offered her money to come out and quit the competition, but she refused, and then she got found while switching spots. However, the winner of this challenge cheated. They said that no one could hide in the ceilings because there
Mm-hmm.
was wiring up there or something like that, but the
Specific
winner of
rule
the challenge was
was
hiding in
hiding
the
there.
ceiling, and the editing staff also modified the overall video so that Rosanna Pansino would not appear in the top three, replacing her with Logan Paul. And all of this was done behind the scenes. The viewer had no
Yeah.
idea. This is where I want to branch out from that original video. Remember, this game show, and it is a game show, Mr. Beast runs feature length game shows with regularity on his channels for massive prize pools. This game show had a prize pool, in this case in particular, of $1 million, the same amount as the CBS reality show Survivor. Well, Survivor, despite being mentioned by this alleged former employee in passing, has a particularly relevant lawsuit brought forward by a contestant of season one,
Oh,
where she alleges that producers of the show engaged in a scheme to prearrange outcomes by persuading, influencing, or intimidating contestants. She claims that the show's creator and executive producer, Mark Burnett at the time, materially altered the game by influencing multiple other contestants to change
so
their
there's a legal
votes, because
basis
Burnett believed that a contestant
potentially.
named Rudy, in this case, would be a fan favorite and wanted to keep him on and continue with him in the competition. The case ultimately settled out of court, which means we don't know who won or what actually happened between these parties, but in her lawsuit, Stacy Stillman, that was her name, cited 47 USC 509, which pertains to, quote, prohibited practices in contests of knowledge, skill, or chance, end quote. Here's the relevant section of that code, quote, it shall be unlawful for any person with intent to deceive the listening or viewing public, 1, to supply to any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge or intellectual skill any special and secret assistance whereby the outcome of such contest will be in whole or in part prearranged or predetermined. 2. By means of persuasion, bribery, intimidation, or otherwise, to
Which technically they did do because they asked her to leave the competition. Like, oh, do you want to? And then she was like, no, I'm good. And then there's even the situation like the one with the Rubik's Cube where they full on paid a contestant to just leave.
to induce or cause any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge or intellectual skill
That one was
to refrain
intellectual
in any
knowledge or
manner
skill.
from using or displaying his knowledge or skill in such contest, whereby the outcome thereof will be in whole or in part prearranged or predetermined.
Which is exactly what happened in
That's the
the
part that
Rubik's
matters,
Cube one,
although there
technically.
is more. But let's go through and simplify it. It shall be unlawful for any person with intent to deceive the listening or viewing public, the audience, by means of persuasion or bribery, to induce or cause any contestant to refrain in any manner from using or displaying knowledge and skill in that contest, which then predetermines the outcome in whole or in part. Right? Make sense? Think back here. When Mr. Beast runs a competition with 100 boys and 100 girls, and then pays one of the boys more than the prize pool amount that he would win by staying in the competition to not help his team
Yeah.
anymore, he modifies the result of the competition through bribery during a challenge
That's
of
exactly what I was
knowledge,
saying,
in
yep.
this case, a
I
Rubik's
knew he
Cube
was bringing
puzzle,
that point
favoring a
like
particular
around.
team. Not good.
Mm-hmm.
However, that was known.
It's
it
very,
happened
very
directly
not good.
on camera. In the case of Rosanna Pansino, however, it happened off camera.
Mm-hmm.
He offered her money, which she refused, to drop out of the competition, thereby attempting to bribe her in a manner that would in part predetermine the outcome of the game.
Yep.
What's more, after she refused, seemingly for the purpose of making the video more entertaining, I guess, which people tell me he's acknowledged it elsewhere online, his editing team removed her from the top 3,
Which is
placing
crazy.
instead a much larger creator in that role, despite the fact that he was not actually there, which
Yeah.
deceived the audience, fulfilling basically every single part of this law at one time or another, from what I can tell, in my opinion, to the very letter. Now, I know some people are going to make this distinction here, and they should, to be honest,
Bro
but
is
a YouTuber
spitting.
is not broadcast television. If you look at the audience metrics, Survivor got an average of 8.4 million viewers across 35 days, while Mr. Beast will get sometimes 10 times higher than that across a much smaller period of time. His feature-length game show programs are far more popular than pretty much anything on all of broadcast television. But the episode in question, the hide-and-seek $1 million prize pool video, is a YouTube original program. I can't personally say at what specific point in time a creator who owns a media company that is 10 or 20 times larger and more successful than mainstream broadcast television networks becomes liable under those same rules, or if they ever even apply at all for that matter.
Yeah, it's
But
tricky
Mr.
because
Beast appears to be
it's YouTube.
completely disregarding the concept of game show integrity, purely for the sake of making those game shows entertaining. Not good. Except
Yeah.
that alone wouldn't be nearly as bad. YouTube is a competitive atmosphere. He's giving away money, lots of it. He's just trying to make things entertaining, and legally, broadcast television rules probably don't even apply to him, so who cares, am I
True.
right? Sure.
That's
Except
most likely what's allowing him to get away with it, is that there's probably some sort of, like, not clause, I would say, but some sort of loophole that he's exploiting where basically it doesn't apply to him because what he's doing isn't really a game show, it's a YouTube show. So he's probably able to get away with it legally because of that.
he also runs frequent lotteries.
Because he could just be like,
and
oh,
I'll
it's
use
a
the
YouTube
mandatory
video.
disclosure here. I'm not a lawyer. These are just my opinions. But let's take a look at what's going on.
It would be
First,
interesting
the
to get a
FCC
lawyer's opinion,
classifies
though.
lottery as any game, contest, or promotion that combines the elements of prize, chance, and consideration, which is pretty loose. But there's a format
Mhm.
here that we have to focus on, highlighted initially by this alleged former employee, of live streamed merchandise signing. There's a lot of examples here, but oddly enough, most of them get deleted, like this one. Video not available. However, on the
Damn.
Wayback Machine, you can see the title was "Buy This Shirt, You Could Win $1 million." And the content of that stream, as put forward again by this alleged prior employee, was a non-stop torrent of claims again and again and again that if you buy a shirt in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you'll get thousands of dollars in your package, or an Xbox, or a PS4, or whatever it is they were giving away. He's done
Which is going to
this
get a lot of people to
indisputably as
buy.
a regular occurrence dozens of times with prizes that are genuinely worth large sums of money,
Yeah.
creating a system where he sells something like a shirt, attaches a much larger financial incentive to it, like a car or cash, and then sells thousands more of that item because it's effectively a ticket now for a lottery. Yes, I do think it's important to outline that there was a non paid method of entry for some of the prizes, but a lot more of them you had to buy a shirt in the
Yeah, it
next
would
X
have to
number
be
of
something
minutes, and you
purchased.
might get chosen to be flown down for a video or given something huge. On the one hand, you can say, oh, he's giving away all this money to charities and poor people. But on the other, it seems a little bit worse if the money that he gives to one poor person is
He takes
funded
from
by
another.
5,000.
He's stealing from the poor to give back to the poor. That's fucked. Holy shit. I didn't think about it until he said it that way. What the fuck?
Oh, he's giving away all this money to charities and poor people. But on the other, it seems a little bit worse if the money that he gives to one
New Mr. Beast video. I made 100 people blind.
poor person is funded by
Oh
5,000 other
no.
poor people frantically buying an overpriced t-shirt to enter what appears to be an illegal lottery to the benefit of Mr. Beast. To be clear, the original video I'm referencing here, the one I believe to be shadow banned by YouTube, is much, much longer and has more
Yeah, it has a lot of detail. So I definitely
examples
think that might be one we'll react to soon.
in it, like Feastables and Beast Burger and faking signatures or whatever else. But the way I see it, there's two main problems right now, and those are manipulating contest outcomes, 47 USC 509, and illegal lotteries that seem just completely indefensible, actually, in my personal opinion. Here's a guess, and it's precisely that, a guess, okay? My guess is that he has an entire legal team advising him on the technicalities of how to do these sweepstakes properly. And if he
Mm-hmm.
did, or said, precisely what they told him, there'd be no prosecutable issue. However, when the stream title says buy the shirt to win $1 million, or when he and his friends are just saying stuff like buy another shirt in the next 10 minutes and we'll put, I don't know, 5 grand in the bag for one of you lucky people, or some of you, or every one for the next like 2 minutes gets $100. Like when he's saying stuff like that, and when he decides that the video isn't entertaining enough, so he does things spontaneously that, to change the
The
outcome,
TV is like
that
hypnotizing
crosses the
me.
border from predatory and technically non-illegal to flat out blatantly indefensible, totally illegal, and they have had to pull down the live streams after, right? Like that's why they're deleting
Yeah,
stuff
that's
in
why they're
my
deleting and hiding things.
estimation on the
Most
channel.
likely.
It all boils down to a question. At what point does a YouTuber become so big they jump categories without voluntarily jumping categories? A random person in their basement making YouTube videos is not broadcast television, right? Nobody can make that argument. But when a multi-billion-dollar media company, because those are the numbers we're talking about here, is giving away millions of dollars in
Yeah,
prizes
it's
or
like this changes from just an average YouTuber to like something much bigger because it's a big situation
hosting dozens of live streamed lotteries that seem to very blatantly violate the law, at what
and
point
affect a
does
lot of
that media
people.
company become liable for the activity that they're perpetrating? When a guy is running game shows for hundreds of millions of usually young viewers and giving away life changing sums of money to various participants, but modifies the rules and the integrity of that competition on a personal whim for the purpose of making it more entertaining to the
Or
audience,
to favor
when
a
does the
certain
line get drawn in the
side.
sand?
Yeah,
When does someone else, a higher authority, step in and say, no, you have
enough
to
is
make this
enough.
fair? You can't just
Yeah.
decide, oh, that'd be more entertaining. Let's bribe him to drop out so she can win, or give them a drone so they can have an advantage. That's not okay. And it's a house of cards that Mr. Beast is living in right now that, in my opinion, absolutely will eventually collapse on top of him. Lastly, for anyone who made it this far but just isn't convinced of anything, totally fair. Remember Rosanna Pansino? Yeah, she just came out with a video regarding the current Beast Games, which is a competition show by Mr. Beast
It's currently
unfolding right
going
now in
on.
Las Vegas that will be
Yeah.
on Amazon Prime, citing sources from the competitors, of which she claims to have 10 separate ones.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of people already stating that there's really bad working conditions for the contestants of this game show, and a lot of them are very upset.
Quote, it was really
But
bad.
again,
People were having
claims.
seizures because they were not getting medication, even though we were promised we would. And it was 100% rigged. They presented it as though the game would be like Squid Games, basically a type of game show where all the games are an even playing field. That was not at all the case. All the games were about speed and strength. So only the young athletic males were at an advantage over the women and elderly people that were cast. To make things worse, men started realizing that they could take out the women
They casted elderly people, but they made speed and strength courses. Like, what the hell?
without being eliminated. Guys started tackling and hitting women. Two
Oh,
girls
that's
were tackled
crazy.
and passed out on the field and dragged off to continue filming. I saw people with broken bones,
Holy
stitches,
shit.
etc., and most were women. We were given maybe 400-calorie meals and only fed every 12 hours. Food would run out, and people would fight over, steal, and hoard food.
Sounds
Water was
horrible.
scarce and kept running out as well. I had to sit with a bloody pad for 2 days before I could get
Oh my
undergarments and my
god.
reusable pads because I'm allergic to regular pads. We were also sleep deprived, only allowed to sleep 3 to 4 hours. We all slept on the floor of the stadium in a $10 sleeping bag.
That's insane. What the hell?
Skipping forward here, they offered anyone who lost $1,000 to sign away their rights to join any kind of class action lawsuit of any
What
kind.
the
I didn't
fuck?
sign, so I did not get the money. After this article came out and things started blowing
So
up,
basically, if you lost, they were like, "We'll give you $1,000, but you have to sign this and state that you're gonna forfeit your right to ever sue us legally or hold us accountable legally."
they
So of course, a lot of people are not gonna sign that because if they know that they were treated unfairly or unjustly, they need to defend themselves in law, like in court,
called everyone back and decided
because they
to
could
offer
probably get
an
a lot more than
additional
$1,000 for
$1,000 per
that.
person to make up for the inconveniences. End quote. To clarify, this person
So
asserts it
2,000
wasn't
now.
Amazon Prime that called them, it was Mr. Beast's personal crew. And I do think there's something to be said for unfiltered competition or allowing people to truly compete with each other on, I don't know, kind of a brutal playing field. But if that stuff is true, well, I'll let people make up their own minds. And it feels like there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out here soon from the
Yeah,
veritable horde of
it
ex
looks
employees and
yikes.
contestants that were all subjected to non disclosure agreements. For added emphasis, the horrible conditions were additionally reported on by a local Las Vegas outlet, with Beast Games staff members and production crew allegedly verifying that they ran out of food, there were medical evacs, people's undergarments were permanently lost, and medication was not provided properly. That kind of atmosphere only maintains itself for so long. Aggressive non disclosure agreements is what I mean by that. At a certain point, when the water comes through the cracks, it pours through the cracks and makes them bigger. And I can't really explain it, but that's the impression I get right now. The water's
Hmm.
coming through the cracks. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below, a VPN deal, locals and Patreon, merch, etc.,
Holy
etc. But I'll
shit.
cut it there.
That was a great video. Let's give it a like. It was by Upper Echelon, The Disaster Facing Mr. Beast. Let me know what you guys thought about that. That was definitely like very eye-opening. And I'm glad, like I said, he touched on certain things that I was discussing because I did not remember the details and I needed him to provide them because, oh my god.